Your biggest enemy is not the world, not your haters, not your circumstances. It's the voice inside your own head, the whisper that says, "Do it tomorrow. One more scroll won't hurt. You deserve a break." And the terrifying part is, that voice never sounds dangerous. It sounds reasonable, comfortable, safe. That's how your future gets stolen. Quietly. Not through one massive failure, but through tiny decisions repeated every single day. Because dreams rarely die instantly. They die in the dark, while you sleep through alarms, ignore your goals, and slowly become someone you never planned to be. And one day, you wake up realizing the life you wanted was destroyed by the habits you defended. Look around. Most people are not destroyed by bad luck. They are destroyed by comfort. Because when a weak mind gains control, discipline disappears. And once discipline disappears, potential dies with it. Your brain would rather protect you than transform you. That's why the moment life becomes uncomfortable, your mind searches for escape, not growth, escape. The moment work feels difficult, your hand reaches for the phone. The moment focus becomes painful, you look for distraction. The moment pressure appears, your brain whispers, "Rest, later, tomorrow." And if you obey that voice long enough, it becomes your identity. At first, it looks harmless. A skipped workout, a delayed task, one broken promise to yourself. But weakness compounds quietly. A man skips the gym one day, then another, then another. Eventually, he stops calling himself disciplined. That is how identity dies, quietly. And the dangerous part is, your mind is always watching, learning, recording. Every time you surrender to comfort, your brain remembers. And eventually, it stops believing you complete. Remember this: the mind you refuse to control today will control your entire future tomorrow. Think about this. You set an alarm for 5 a.m. You promise yourself, tomorrow will be different. The room is dark. The alarm rings. For 5 seconds, your entire future hangs on one decision. And most people lose that battle before the sun even rises. They negotiate with weakness. Just 10 more minutes. I'll restart tomorrow. Today doesn't matter. But it does matter, because average lives are built in those tiny moments. Not through one huge mistake, but through repeated surrender. Scrolling when you should focus, sleeping when you should rise, escaping when you should endure. And the scary part? Every excuse sounds rational when your life lacks discipline. Comfort is expensive. It charges your future, because every time you obey comfort, you train weakness. And weakness, repeated long enough, becomes identity. But discipline begins the moment comfort loses authority over you. The moment you act despite resistance, you become dangerous. Because successful people are not people who always feel motivated. They are people who move anyway. Temporary pleasure creates permanent weakness. Temporary pain creates permanent strength. Most people sacrifice the life they truly want for comfort they won't even remember next week. Mental strength is not born, it is trained. Quietly, daily. Every promise you keep to yourself becomes evidence. Evidence that you are someone who executes. Read that again. Confidence is not motivation. Confidence is evidence. Evidence that when you speak, you obey yourself. That is self-trust. And disciplined people trust themselves deeply. But weak minds repeat a dangerous pattern. They speak with ambition and act with hesitation. I'll wake up early. I'll start Monday. I'll change. But eventually, their own brain stops believing them. Because your mind listens to repetition, not intention, and identity changes through proof. When you wake up tired and still work, identity changes. When you continue despite discomfort, identity changes. When you finish what you started, identity changes. That is why discipline is self-respect. Every disciplined action says, I do not abandon myself. And once that identity becomes real, discipline stops feeling forced. It becomes who you are. Your habits are voting for the person you become. So the real question is, what are you voting for every day? Every action begins as a thought, and every destroyed future begins with repeated mental surrender. First comes the thought, I'm tired. Then, I'll do it later. Then, maybe I'm not capable. And eventually, that voice becomes your reality. That is why mentally strong people guard their mind like a fortress. They are careful what they consume, careful who they listen to, careful what they repeat internally. Because thoughts become actions, actions become character, and character becomes destiny. The strongest people are not emotionless. They feel fear, pain, loneliness, pressure, but they refuse to let emotions make decisions for them. That is real power, emotional control. Because weak minds react, strong minds decide. And once your thoughts become disciplined, your actions follow automatically. And once your actions change, your entire life changes. Imagine yourself years from now, older, standing face to face with the person you could have become. Stronger, focused, disciplined, successful. And realizing they never existed. Not because life stopped you, not because people betrayed you, but because you kept choosing comfort over growth. And the terrifying part is, you never get those years back. The wasted mornings, the delayed goals, the version of yourself that slowly disappeared while you were distracted. That regret is heavier than hard work. And by the time most people feel it, it is already too late. Nobody accidentally becomes strong. Weakness is automatic. Strength is trained. Your life changes the moment you stop negotiating with weakness, the moment excuses lose their authority, the moment discipline becomes your standard. Because discipline is not punishment, it is freedom. Freedom from distraction, freedom from laziness, freedom from becoming average. In a distracted world, people who control themselves become unstoppable. And once you control yourself, life can no longer control you. One day, your entire life will become the result of the habits you repeated in silence. So choose carefully. Will your mind become your greatest weapon or your greatest prison? Train it, master it, control it before comfort controls your future. And if you're ready to become mentally stronger every single day, subscribe now. Because weak minds follow crowds, but strong minds lead themselves.